Jason, I bought you a present, mate. Hopefully you're going to like this. Give me your address and I'll post it over to you. It's an ice cream van. Got all the bits, all the windows still work. It's got a little musical box in it, which only weighs one ding, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to fix that. And there's a funny little bloke on the front. Yeah, but it's an original, and it's really cool, and I thought, I bet you've never done one of these before.
Thanks very much, Andy, and no I haven't. This will be interesting. Hello and welcome to DieCastRestos, in what is my 400th edition. I wanted to mark this milestone with something special, so this musical Corgi Walls ice cream van, kindly sent to me by Andy, gets its turn on the workbench. Corgi released their number 447 Ford Thames Walls ice cream van in March 1965, but the even more special musical version, numbered 474, arrived in October that year. Otherwise identical, this version included a music box concealed within the model that played a little jingle when the rear protruding handle was turned. As Andy said and I demonstrated, I'm getting only one note out of this one, so that will need fixing. I also have replica walls, waterslide decals and stickers to affix, as well as a replacement,
Funny little bloke,
though the quality of his painting is a bit questionable. All of these came from Steve Flowers Model Supplies, and I will leave a link in the video description. With the introduction of the musical van, the number 447 non-musical version was discontinued in 1966. Both models came with figures of an ice cream salesman and a young boy customer. Included in the box were additional stickers for buyers to stick on themselves, along with a set of instructions for their perfect placement. Originals of either set, with the stickers untouched and in their original packaging, now fetch handsome sums. Production of the musical van ran until 1968. However, this version has since been reproduced for the Corgi Model Club, just as it would have appeared in the 60s. The model replicates the Thames 307E, clearly based on Ford's Anglia 105E. They were commonly known and later officially known as Anglia vans. This particular casting replicates the 500 weight version, equivalent to a metric payload of 250 kilograms. Thames also offered a 700 weight van, though they are visually distinguishable. The 500 weight van carries a narrow front radiator grille, while the 700 weight van received the same full width grille as the Super and Deluxe Anglia saloons. The 307E was launched by Ford of Britain in June 1961, following the arrival of the 105E Anglia in 1959. I've previously worked on Matchbox's original Ford Anglia, which I both restored and customised to a Harry Potter spec in a very early yet successful video on this channel. The 307E van replaced the 300E van, itself based on the older 100E iteration of Anglia, and again a model I've restored on this channel, featuring one of my favourite before versus after differences. The 307E was introduced with a specially developed so-called commercial version of the Anglia 105E 997cc engine. It borrowed the Anglia's 4-speed gearbox. I mentioned that the grills were different shapes for the two different payload options. The 500 weight also had body-coloured horizontal slats, while the 700 weight's full-width grille was brushed metal. Left-hand drive exports of the van were designated as the Thames 308E, though the Anglia name was used in some markets. From October 1962, the van was offered with the 1198cc engine from the Ford Anglia Super. These were designated 309E, while the left-hand drive export models were 310E. Ford of Britain decided to drop the use of the Thames mark in March 1965, bringing an end to 26 years of the name being used on Ford commercial vehicles. From then until the end of production, the vans were marketed as Ford Anglia vans. The end of production coincided with the Anglia's replacement by the Ford Escort. The successor to the Anglia van would be the Escort van. A total of 205,001 were produced in 6 years of manufacture. As you will have seen in the images from earlier, these vans really were converted for use as ice cream vans, looking pretty much identical to the Corgi model when adorned with the Wolves colours and branding. Now, I'm no expert on ice cream vans, but I believe these 307Es were likely converted by Martin Walter Limited. This company were notable for their Bedford CA conversions into motorhomes or camper vans called Dormobiles. Martin Walter have a long history spanning back to 1773, when they were harness makers based out of Folkestone in Kent. They later switched to coach work after the arrival of horseless carriages, seeing their main business begin to disappear. Prior to World War II, Martin Walter produced bespoke bodies for various vehicle manufacturers, such as the Wingham Cabriolet, designed to fit anything from a Vauxhall to a Rolls-Royce. It was after the war that they made the move to specialist vehicles, including ambulance bodies and Bedford van conversions. So popular was its Bedford CA van conversion that a separate company was set up named Dormobile after its best known product. Company operations continue to date, long after the demise of Bedford. They carry out modern camper van conversions as well as offering spare parts and restorations on classic models. There's not a huge amount of information available about the 307E conversions, aside from an old Martin Walter advertisement. In this, it states that the 5 or 700 weight left-hand drive vans, so a 308E then, had modified rear portions with the fitment of a steel-framed superstructure covered with fiberglass panels. These were fitted with sliding windows for serving, and the cab was equipped with a driver's seat and a subsidiary conserver, reed freezer. The windows on my model were looking a little yellowed with age. Here I am coating them in cream peroxide and then I leave them under UV light. This chemical reaction helps remove some of the yellowing caused by UV damage. Back to the advertisement, which states the body interior fittings include the main conserver, i.e. freezer, which measured 9 cubic feet. Other facilities included a thermo water tank, wash bowl, melamine surfaced counter and waste receptacle. Shelving was also supplied in the rear. Vans would have a gaily painted exterior included in the price. While the width and length were not affected by the conversion, the vehicle's height most certainly was, up to 81 inches, 2.05 metres. Apparently, the best way to serve using the van was to stand outside and lean in through the large window to get into the freezers. This is why Martin Walter used left-hand drive vehicles. Wolves bought 363 of these conversions, though it is unknown how many were built for other companies or buyers. Depending on where you are watching from, you may know Wolves by a different name. One of many in fact, as they form part of the Heart brand of frozen desserts. This could be Algado, Darko, Eskimo, Frigo, Frisco, GB Glass, Good Humour, HB or HB Wolves, Hilushue, Hollander, Ingman, Inmarco, Kibon, Quality Wolves, La Fuente, Langnasia, Luso, Miko, Ola, Pinguino, Selecta, Ciro, Strauss, Streets or Tio Rico. I think and hope that's it. As this is a Wolves ice cream van, let's just focus on them for now. The company's origins span back to 1786, when Richard Wall opened a butcher's stall in St James's Market, London. That could be a rhyme. In the 1900s, the company had to lay off much of its staff in the summer months, as the sales of their meat products declined during these times. In 1913, Richard's grandson Thomas Wall II conceived the idea of making ice creams to avoid these layoffs. The First World War meant these plans were ultimately delayed until 1922. The company had been jointly purchased by Lever Brothers and Margarine Uni, later to become Unilever, and Maxwell Holt was put in charge. He revived Thomas's ice cream production idea and was met with immediate success. Production commenced at a factory in Acton, London, and by 1959 production was doubled after a purpose-built factory opened in Gloucester. Unilever purchased sausage producer Mattison's in 1965 and ran both Wall's meat products and Mattison's separately. The two were merged in 1986, forming Mattison's Walls. This new entity was then sold off by Unilever in 1994, separating the Walls ice cream and meat product divisions for good. The Heart brand was divested by Unilever in 2025, so ownership now falls under the Magnum Ice Cream Company as an independent subsidiary of Unilever. Walls remains the UK market leader for quote handheld ice cream products. Anyway, enough of the food product chat, let's turn back to the restoration. So the van's body is about prepared for paint now, after ironing out a few blemishes. Meanwhile, the base and raised rear section are clear coated. I used rattle cans for the other cast metal parts, but for the body I'm utilising my airbrush and Kaleido Colourworks Baby Blue. It's equivalent to Porsche's Baby Blue, according to them, though I'm not sure Porsche ever officially named a colour Baby Blue. You'll see though that in my spray booth this looks really faint. The after shot I'm about to show you was actually after the third coat. There's a marked difference in the condition of the window plastics after that UV treatment. They're definitely less yellow now. I apologise for the state of the autofocusing here. I always seem to have trouble framing the window polishing. This is wood floor polish, which should really bring those transparent pieces back to life with any luck. I wasn't all that impressed by the Steve Flowers Model Supplies Repro front-facing character, so I've been painting the original one myself. Although I can't help but feel that he is a little bit creepy. From his eyes to the van's, we're progressing nicely now. Earlier, you will have seen me try, and fail, to smooth off the Vallejo plastic putty on the bumper section. I either hadn't let it set for long enough, or I was too vigorous with it. Probably the latter. This time I used damp 1200 grit wet and dry paper, and the result is much improved, so I begin coating it in chrome from my 3mm Molotov pen. This is self-leveling, so it should smooth out nicely. You're probably wondering why I just played you "You Are My Sunshine" on a music box. Well, this piece of Chinesium I had shipped over to act as a donor for my ice cream van. Unfortunately, there's a considerable size difference between new and original. Looking at the old one, it is missing 3 different arms. The new one has many more, plus it is too long and certainly doesn't align with the original in any way, shape or form. That means I'll need to get my cutting and grinding tools out to make it work. But just look at this size difference. There was probably an easier, less convoluted way of doing this, but it was cheap and fairly quick. At this point, I was just hoping it would work. That's the first time in who knows how long that little jingle has been played in full from this music box. It was also the first time I had heard it as well. It's not a complex tune, but it neatly complements the model, I think. Just testing it out there, making sure it still works where I've glued it in place. I'll save revealing the tune properly until the restoration is complete. That is one big job ticked off the list. Another will be the decals and stickers. Just 2 waterslide decals adorn the 447 and 474 models, the Walls logo to each door. The Stop Me and Buy One sticker that sits below the creepy bloke is sized too large on the sticker sheet, so I need to cut it down a touch. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I hate stickers. They're so much less forgiving than waterslide decals, and they either stick in the wrong places, completely irretrievable, or they lose their tack and won't stick at all. There's no easily placeable middle ground. Well, with that mini rant and disclaimer out of the way, and the sticker safely in situ, let's crack on with the rest, as per the inset diagram that came packed with each brand new model. Oh, how fiddly those red on yellow stars were. But at least that's over with as I fill out the colour on the tail lamps. That means it's time to start reassembly, with the original rooftop pattern cardboard insert being cautiously placed back in first. I can then marry up the cast structure to the plastic canopy, the window extensions effectively clipping to the insides of the beige metal. Mr. Creepy Man finds his home on the roof next, before the roof section gets reacquainted with the body. With the fiddly sliding windows and the plastic piece hiding the musical mechanicals now in place, the chromed plastic bumpers, grille and suspension piece slots in, followed by the wheels, followed by the base. The rear 2 posts were a touch too narrow to tap, but I left them wide enough to push fit over. And that means it's about time to give it a listen. Here was how the ice cream van Andy sent me looked before taking it apart. It's obviously a well-loved example with battered paintwork, a damaged front bumper, missing decals and stickers, and a music box that could play only one note. Remarkably though, all parts remained intact enough to be reused in one way or another. I always try ambitious, interesting projects for my milestone videos, so hopefully number 400 delivers. And here it is now completely refreshed, having reused all the existing parts, the only new additions being the decals and stickers, plus the hidden new keys for the music box. The paint isn't quite as vibrant a blue as the original, and the rear section is a slightly sandier beige. I am very pleased with the quality of the repro decals from Steve Flowers Model Supplies, and I'm happy with the glow up the character on the front has had using my Artex pens. The windows weren't too badly yellowed, though they appear far clearer after the UV treatment. And the concealed music box now plays all of its notes correctly after replacing the broken keys with a new set. My thanks go out to Andy for sending this one over to me, and thanks to you for watching. Please leave your thoughts on this restoration down in the comments, make sure you're subscribed, and do leave a like if you enjoyed this one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.